بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in a number of ayat of the Quran, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And remember, when Allah Azza wa Jal told all of the malaika to make sajdah to Adam, they all obeyed and they made sajdah with the exception of Iblis. One ayat said, Kana min al-jinn, he was from the jinn. Another ayat, Aba was stakbara, he became arrogant and he refused. And he was from those who disbelieved. I want to draw your attention as it relates to this ayat to the issue of the sajdah. That Allah Ta'ala commanded the malaika, that tremendous creation, to make sajdah to his creation Adam. And from the wisdom behind that is that Adam is one of the four things that Allah created with his own hands. As Allah Ta'ala said to Iblis, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَسْجُدَ لِمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيَّ. What prevented you, Iblis, from bowing down to the one that I created with my own two hands? This sajdah is one of the most important harakat as it relates to the ibadat of al-Islam. For a person to put his face on the ground. We won't do that for anybody in Allah's creation. We won't do it for a Nabi. We won't do it for a Rasul, for anybody. We won't do it for our mothers or our fathers because in our religion that's haram, although it was allowed in the religion of Bani Israel at one time. The Muslim is learning martial arts. He doesn't bow down out of respect to his sensei. Sajdah is only for Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's a sign of humility. The way Allah has created Bani Adam, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا Bani Adam, is that you are on your two legs and you keep your head up and you don't go into any majlis. I don't care who the people are in that place. White, black, rich, poor. The Muslim doesn't walk in there and he's bowing down, showing humility to people like that. Sajdah, one of the most important, impactful movements in terms of ibadah. And one of the best places to perform that sajdah is right here in the Masjid. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونَ الْعَبْدُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ وَهُوَ سَاجِدٌ فَأَكْثِرُوا الدُّعَاء. The closest that the slave is to his Lord, who is above the seven heavens in a way that befits his majesty. Ar-Rahman ala al-arsh istawa. Allah is above the seven heavens, which is very, very far from here. But if you want to get close to Allah, the way you do that is by falling on that floor and making yourself humble to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And I said, one of the best places to do it is in the Masjid. You can do it any and every place where it has been legislated. There are some places we don't make sajdah, like in the maqbara, like in the hamamat, akramakumullah. But the earth has been made to be a masjid for us. Make sajdah. Sajdah to shukr, sajdah to tilawa, sajdah when a person wants to get close to Allah. And as I mentioned, the masjid. And for that reason, the masjid has a special significance in al-Islam, no matter where that masjid happens to be, no matter how big it happens to be. The masjid. Allah Ta'ala loves in a way that befits his majesty. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned from what Allah loves, Inna ahabbal biladi ilallah masajiduha wa abghada biladi ilallahi aswaquha. From the most beloved places to Allah in the earth are the masjids, like this small, modest masjid. This masjid can't accommodate 1,000 people, but because of what's going on in here, at this time and during the course of the day, when the 5 prayers are established, this becomes the most beloved buqa ala wajhil ard, ala al-itlaq. There's no other place more beloved than this place, than Allah. And the most hated, detestable places to Allah are the aswaq. Because in the marketplace, where many of us work, where all of us go, people are lying, men and women are mixing, people are stealing, people are trading and selling stuff that's haram, no good. So it's a lot of things that cause people to forget why they were created. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِي. When he comes to the masjid, he's going to sit right here, and his whole tafkir is upon why you've been created. That's what this place is all about. Nobody is sitting here right now thinking about some nonsense. You're sitting here and you're brought back to the point of why we're walking on the face of the earth. So the masjid, which is the Bayt of Allah, the masjid of Allah. And that in the Arabic language is a sign of tashrif, that the place will call Masjidullah, Kitabullah, Rasulullah. That's honor for the one who is being connected like that. Abdullah. So the masjid is like that. Allah Ta'ala told Ibrahim and Ismail and Tahira Bayti lit-ta'ifina wal-akifina wa ruk'a as-sujud. Take care of my bayt, the bayt of Allah, the Kaaba, the house of Allah. Not because Allah lives there, hasha lillah. Allah is over the seven heavens in a way that befits His majesty. But He is everywhere in His ability to hear and see in His knowledge. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. So wherever you are, Allah is there in His knowledge and so forth and so on. So the masjid is a tremendous place that serves a really important integral aspect of the life of the Muslim. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, in building the masjid and legislating the masjid is not a place except that it has do's and don'ts. I come into this masjid for the first time in my life. When you come into the masjid, you can tell a lot about the community. You can tell a lot, because there are a lot of things that you do in the masjid, things you don't do in the masjid, things that are wajib and things that are haram. The Prophet mentioned sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was given the khutbatul Jum'ah, when a man came in and he sat down. He said, Ya Sulay, asalayta rak'atayn, did you make your 2 rak'at to the masjid? Because from the haqq of the masjid is that you don't sit down. It's haram to sit down. Haram to sit down. It has a right, not a right. The masjid has huquq. And these little shabab, our little shabab, as they grow older, this religion is being stripped away from them. The adab of the masjid. Who Allah is, what Islam is. LGBT being pushed down their throats. 5 years, 10 years, normative Islam, Allahu alam, won't even be known. So as a father who brings his son to the masjid, we have to learn about these do's and don'ts. The man said, La ya Rasulullah, I didn't pray those 2 rak'ats. I didn't. He said, Qum fasaliha wa tajawaz fihima. Get up and pray them very quickly, because I'm giving the khutbah. Don't take a long time. Get up. Why did he stop the khutbah? In order to address the man? The importance of the masjid. إِذَا دَخَلَ أَحَدُكُمْ الْمَسْجِدِ فَلَا يَجْلِسْ حَتَّى يُصَلِّيَ رَكْعَتَيْنِ. If anybody enters into a masjid, don't sit down until you pray 2 rak'at. الشاهد من الكلام. The masjid is a place, do's and don'ts. Now is not the time for that. You go to the YouTube, you go to the internet, and you put that in. The do's and don'ts of the masjid. Wallahi, our ummah doesn't know much of this. The point is, it is an important place. And from the most important aspects of the masjid is that this is a place where we should be teaching about the religion of Islam. Not politics, not kalam farik, not weak hadith, not stuff that some of us in our masjids, we come from the Arab world, we come from Africa, we come from Pakistan, and the imam gets up here and speaks a language that our children don't understand. So the kid doesn't want to come to a masjid where he doesn't understand the khutbah, or it's just cultural Islam. So he's growing, and all he has to do is meet someone who is an extremist, meet someone who's a deviant, and before you know it, that kid is going over to Syria somewhere because his dad didn't teach him real Islam. The imam is on the masjid, on the minbar, teaching khurafat. Allah Ta'ala mentioned about the Masājid, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. The masjid belongs to Allah. They're for Allah. They're not for the committee. They're not for the family that put the most money in. They're not for the original people who opened the doors. The Masājid are for Allah. He owns the Masājid. So the dawah should be to Allah and for Allah. It shouldn't be for the imam. It shouldn't be for my group. It should be about the kitab and the sunnah, according to the way the salaf of this ummah understood. Ya Muslimun, Ummat al-Islam. The masjid is an integral part of the life of the Muslim. Things happen here, the khair that happens here, you're not going to get it out there in that dunya. Vast majority of you, I don't know your names, but one thing I know for sure, that everybody sitting in every row out here has problems. When you come to the masjid, you forget about those problems because it's the sakeen of the masjid. When you come to the masjid, you get your problems solved. Sab'atun yadhilluhumullahu taht yawm la dhilla illa dhilluhu. 7 people Allah will shade them yawm al-qiyamah under His shade. The shade that's provided because of the arsh. The arsh, the biggest creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. The people of Iman and Tawheed and the Masjid. He said from those 7 people, Rajulun, his heart was connected to the Masjid. It meant something to him. He didn't wait until Friday to come to the Masjid. Maybe his dhuruf, la tasmah lahu, to come to the Masjid 5 times a day. I'm not going to stand here and say you have to make salat in the Masjid 5 times a day, be a bum, don't work, just come to the Masjid. You may work, you can't come. But you have to come for Maghrib, you have to come for Isha, you have to come for Fajr when the season is allowing you. The Muslim is not one of those people who, he's a fair weather Muslim, like a fair weather friend. The fair weather friend is when everything is cold and everything is okay, he'll be there with you, no problems. But when you need to borrow money, when you need to move and you need help to move, when you need support, when you need a ride, that cat goes ghost on you. He's not around. Don't be a fair weather Muslim. Who's the fair weather Muslim? He's going to pray on the day of the Eid. He's going to pray on Friday. He'll come to the masjid on Friday. The Masājid are not like that. The masjid in Islam is an integral part of the life of the Muslim. And for that reason, in Mecca and Mukarramah, when the Prophet was there, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he could not go to the Kaaba, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Kaaba had idols all over there. They used to worship Allah in secret because that was the condition. He can't stay in Mecca because you cannot establish Islam in the lives of the people without an opportunity to worship Allah correctly, individually and as a group, as a jama'ah. So Allah Ta'ala legislated the hijrah. But in Mecca, he couldn't pray. So Allah revealed those ayats. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمَهُ وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا. Who is more oppressive than the one who stops people from going to the Masjid of Allah and they try to break it up? That was about the kuffar of Quraysh. They used to go to the Masjid. They made tawaf around the Masjid. They used to believe in Allah. They used to go to the Masjid, but they weren't practicing Islam. And they were trying to stop the people from going. And we have Muslims who do the same thing. We don't want you in this Masjid. You're not on my maslak. You don't follow what I follow. You're not my color. You're not on my madhab. Even people who claim the sunnah are like that. The Masājid belong to Allah, ya Abdullah, kuffar Quraysh. That's how they were doing. Allah described the kuffar of Quraysh and he said about them, وَمَا كَانَ صَلَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا مُكَاءً وَتَصْدِيًا. They used to pray, make tawaf, and the lady would want to make tawbah. In Jahiliyyah, she would take her clothes off and go around the Kaaba making tawbah with ikhlas, sincerely. Allah said that worship was nothing but clapping hands and whistling because they're making shirkum billahi. The point, Ummat al-Islam, The Prophet left Mecca, he went to Medina, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What was the very first thing he did in Medina? Did he go to look for a house? Did he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go to make peace treaty with the Yahud? Did he do anything like that? After resting 4 days, he said, we have to build a masjid. We have to build a masjid. So in building that masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, listen, the very first thing he did in Medina, in the Islamic state. Some of our brothers, may Allah bless them, the khilaf is from Al-Islam. It's in the Quran, it's in the Sunnah. Anybody who's against the khilafah, something wrong with you. You're a fake Muslim. But you're screaming khilafah, 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 and you don't pray in a masjid. The Prophet built a masjid before any of that. The masjid is part of the khilafah. The khilafah is responsible for the masjid. Kalam Farid. Khilafah, the khilafah is important. But the first thing he did, built a masjid. What happened in his masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? From his masjid, he made peace between the people. People who had drama, they would come to the masjid. He would make islah. The companions, if a man borrowed money to you, let's go to the masjid and let's write it at the Prophet's minbar and pay it on this day in the masjid. In the masjid, the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, he used to give da'wah to Allah. Like on this day, the companions would pray and he would teach them and educate them. From the masjid, the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would put one of the great enemies of Islam and say, tie him up to the pillar in the masjid. And all that man would do is see the Muslims all day, every day for 3 days. Nobody would come to him and give him dawah about the 5 arkan of Islam, about the 6 arkan of al-Iman, about the 3 aqsam of Tawheed. Nobody. The man was just looking at the Muslims every day for 3 days. And he saw how they were multicultural. He saw how they would come to the masjid for Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. They saw how Bilal would make the adhan. They saw the brotherhood. They saw real Islam and how the people behaved. And that man would accept Islam. Now we're screaming, we're using and utilizing the internet, and we're trying to spread Islam, and it's spreading. But when those kuffar used to look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, they embraced Islam. So that's what the masjid is, and that's how it is during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when he built his masjid, the hypocrites, they broke off. The hypocrite is that person is, I don't want to get along. I don't like the imam. I don't like the admin. I don't like fulan or allan. So I'm going to break off. If I was in this masjid and this was my community, I don't think I'm going to get along with everybody here all the time. There are going to be some people I just don't get along with them. But every time I don't get along with somebody, I break away. Every time you get married and it just doesn't work, you don't get along with your wife and everything, you get a divorce, you got to learn how to deal with people. But the munafiqun, what did they do? They said, we don't want to be in a masjid. Don't be like those people. I don't like fulan. I don't like the admin. I don't like what they're talking about. And then they went and built a masjid over there. It was called Masjid al-Dirar, the masjid of hurt. It was about politics. It was about racism. It was about tafriqa. It wasn't about Masjid Allah. So Allah Ta'ala commanded his Nabi and he told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, la taqum fihi abada, la masjidun ussisa ala taqwa min Allahi min awwali yawmin ahaqqu an taquma fihi. Fihi rijalun yuhibbun yatatahharu wallahu yuhibbul mutahhirin. Ya Muhammad, do not go to the masjid over there, Masjid al-Dirar. Never stand in that masjid of the people who act like that, want to break away from the Muslims. No, I'm not against. There are a group of people who are Somalis, group of people from Pakistan, group of people from West Africa, group of people who are reverts. So they start their masjid. I'm not saying you can't have a masjid like that, where the majority of the people are from this place or that place, but don't make the dawah in that place just about you and your people. The dawah should be for Allah. Should be about Tawheed. It should be about Sunnah. I'm not here saying I go against that principle that is universal. الطيور على أشكالها تقع. Birds of a feather flock together. That's natural. You don't see hawks flying around with ducks, pigeons flying around with peacocks. You don't see that. So we have a masjid over there. They're African Americans. Masjid built for purpose, dealing with the issues of my people. I'm not going to be against that. That's natural. But when the white brother comes, when the Jewish Muslim comes, when the Somali comes, when the Chinese come, he has to feel like he's a first-class citizen like everybody else. You go in some of these masjids, as soon as you step into the spot, you feel I'm a second-class citizen. One way is the language. I don't understand the language, man. What are you talking about, Urdu? I'm not against Urdu. Beautiful language, very eloquent. But me and my kids need to learn this religion. Unless 99% of the Muslims speak Urdu. Different issue. I hope you understand the point. So don't be like the people who built the Masjid al-Dirar that Allah described in his book, Masjid al-Dirar. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدًا دِرَارًا وَكُفْرًا وَتَفْرِيقًا بَيْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَإِرْصَادًا. That's what they were doing. People built a masjid in order to spread kufr and to divide the Muslim and to wage war. It was a post to wage war against Allah and his messenger. We want the masjid to be the masjid of al-Islam. So now, what's the point of all of that? Point of all of that is, from what I understand, and I hope the news that reached me was correct, is that this masjid used to offer the service of Salatul Jummah only. When that was the case, this place is a musalla because they're praying Jummah. It's like praying in a center. It's like praying in a school. It's like playing as a church and they have a recreation, so you rent it or they let you go. That's a musalla. That's a place that you pray. But when you establish the 5 prayers up in that spot, now it becomes a masjid. Now it's a masjid. Now I look into this audience, and there's not a single line, except we see people of different colors and nations and tribes. Older brothers, younger brothers, strong brothers, some not so strong. And there's a reflection of what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. But now the question is, when the Nabi came with al-Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to those people, the different ajnas, people had different alwan. Abu Bakr is an Arab from Quraysh, Arabiyun Asil. Bilal ibn Rabah is from Ethiopia. Salman al-Rumi was from Persia. Suhaib al-Rumi was from Rome. They came from different places. And then we have people like our mother, Safiya bint Huyay, Abdullah ibn Salam. May Allah be pleased with all of them. They were from the Jews. They were from the Yahud. Who Allah said about the Yahud, لَتَجِدَنَّ أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الْيَهُودِ وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. You'll find the people hating people of Islam more. Who? The Yahud and the Mushrikun. Sikhs, Hindus, they hate Islam more than Christians. Because Islam is the deen of Tawheed. Islam is the deen where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the khatam of the Anbiya and the Rasul. The Mushrikun hate that. But when those people, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Bilal, Salman al-Farisi, Suhaib al-Rumi, Abdullah bin Salam, when they took this kitab and they took this sunnah, they were lesser than us. But Allah Ta'ala transformed for them this world. Now I look in the audience and we have people very hard to get people to understand this is Allah's house and you all are responsible for it. Everybody here is responsible for breaking this masjid off with some money. Wallahi billahi tallahi. The admin didn't tell me that. That's just what it is to be a Muslim. In the Middle East, Qatar and other places, the Dawla spends on the Masājid. They use the money from oil, whatever, to spend on the masjid. King Charles ain't spending on this masjid. And we wouldn't allow him to spend on the masjid. The point here is, it's your responsibility. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. It's your responsibility. The masjid has bills to pay, lights, electric, this. And in addition to that, it's doing a khidmah for you. It's doing a khidmah for you. It's helping you. And that's not just this masjid. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى التوفيق والسداد حمدا كثيرا وطيبا مباركا فيه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. When the Prophet was dying, or he died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was very difficult for the community. We can't imagine it, because the love that the companions had for him was not like the love that we have for anybody. That's my little shorty over there. I love that boy to death, tremendously. But my love for my little man is not like the love that those companions had for the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who brought them from the depths of Jahiliyyah. They were on the brink of the hellfire, about to fall in, and he brought them Islam, and he gave them izzah. So when he died, some of them couldn't even accept that he died, although they knew the ayat, إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. They knew that stuff. The point is, when they were in the masjid sitting like this, discombobulated, trying to figure out what's going on, Abu Bakr came, may Allah be pleased with him, and showing he's the most knowledgeable of this community. He's the strongest of this community after the Prophet. Not only that, but he's the best human being after the prophets and the messengers. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. The people were discombobulated. Umar was threatening the people. Anybody says that he died, I'm going to deal with you. You're a munafiq. Which goes to show, a scholar could say something about someone and it's not the truth. The Sheikh said it. The Sheikh said it. That's not our religion. The dalil is the Sheikh said. Umar was threatening the people. Anybody. And the companions had strong men who were there other than Umar. Khalid ibn Walid is strong. Amr ibn al-As. Where were those people? Abu Dujana. Those were mujahidun. Bimana kalima. Why didn't they come and step to him and say, hey, don't say that? It was because everybody was discombobulated, confused. What's going to happen? Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, went to Aisha's house, took the pillow or the sheet off of the Nabi, smelt him, kissed him, and said, by my mother, may my mother and father be sacrificed. You smell and taste in death sweeter than you did in life. And then he came out. Umar was swearing. Abu Bakr said, Ya ayyuhal halif, be quiet, sit down. Just sit down. He wouldn't listen, threatening the people. Umar came, Abu Bakr got on the minbar of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Rasulullah would get on this minbar 3 steps, he would be up here, so everybody can see him. Abu Bakr got on this step. For the first time ever, someone stepped on that masjid, on that minbar. The minbar is part of this masjid. It has ahkam in it. When the people saw Abu Bakr on that step, the optic, the visuals, they didn't need any clap. Everybody looked and they were like, whoa. And then what did he do? He followed the sunnah. He gave dawah and he taught the people in the masjid. He didn't make takfir of the hukam. He didn't talk about stuff to divide the people. He tried to bring the community together. He told those people, Ya ayyuhan nas, man kana ya'budu Muhammadan finna Muhammad qad mat. If any of you worship Muhammad, Muhammad is dead. He's dead. And whoever worships Allah, Allah is hayy, la yamut, and he doesn't die. And then he started reading ayat of the Quran as dalil for what he said. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا الرَّسُولُ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ وَمَنْ يَنْقَلِبْ عَلَى عَقِبَيْهِ فَلَنْ يُضِرَّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا وَسَيَجْزِي اللَّهُ الشَّاكِرِينَ. Muhammad is the messenger. Many messengers came before him. If he dies or if he is killed, are you going to leave Islam? Are you going to stop being a Muslim now? because you lost your leg, you lost your job, you lost your mother, you got a divorce. You're going to leave Islam. Umar was standing there. He knew that ayah. His legs started shaking. They couldn't hold him anymore. And he fell down. He said, I knew that ayah. But because of the death, I was off the square. And he fell down. We complete this khutbah by saying, what Abu Bakr did, this is what we want the imam in this masjid to do. This is what we want the admin in this masjid to support. We want them to support a da'wah ilallah, not da'wah to your qabila, not da'wah to your madhab, like that, with a ta'assub and hizbiyah. The only hizb we want to connect ourselves to is the hizb of Allah, what those companions were about. Not the way every Amr, Bakr, and Zayd understand it. Because your understanding, you call it that, but it's not really that. You calling us to hizbiyah and you're breaking off from us because of that. May Allah Azza wa Jalla establish our feet firmly upon the Kitab and the Sunnah. And may Allah Ta'ala make us of those people who are truthful in word and deed. And may Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala protect our children and protect our children in the Masājid of Al-Islam. Before we make the Salat, Ikhwani, learn about the ahkam of this masjid. When the Prophet made the khutbah and he sat down, he didn't raise his hands like this to make dua. He didn't do that. And when the companions would see people do that, even the khatib, they would make dua against that person and say, you got bad hands. So learn the ahkam of Jummah and how to come to the masjid, how to leave the masjid, how to sit in the masjid. The people in the back, may Allah bless all of you on this blessed day. But you know, on Friday when you come to the masjid, every right step you take, a hasana. Every left step, a sin is taken off. When you come and you get in where you fit in, without breaking shoulders, that's tremendous benefit. Don't sit in the back if you can help it. Learn the ahkam, the adab of coming to the masjid and be on the sunnah. Aqim as-salat.